Hi, this is Ryan Rademski with my final project for Directory Services, CNIT 363. So what I did for my project was I connected a temperature and humidity sensor to a Raspberry Pi. And what I did with that is I used and edited some code on GitHub to allow the temperature and humidity sensor to log the data that it pulls from the sensor to an SQL database. That SQL database will take weekly dumps, and I can view the database through an Apache website made with PHP code locally on my own network. Some other things it can do are the script runs every 15 minutes, and if the temperature and humidity sensor reads a temperature or humidity too high or too low, it sends an email to my actual email from a sort of fake one or demonstration one that I made called PyTempData. So let's kind of get into it here. Right now I'm SSH'd into my Pi, and you can see two libraries right here. One is called Adafruit Python DHT. The other one is called DHT22 Temperature Logger. So one of the first things I did here is when I got the sensor, the first thing I had to do was go into the Adafruit Python DHT, and I would go into examples, and through there you can see the adafruit.py code here, and it's a short bit of code. All it really does here is it reads. I suppose I have to identify the DHT22 sensor and the GPIO pin that it's on. AM2302, which you see right here, is the same as a DHT22 sensor. The code allows for it to read off of either of those, whichever I give it. They're essentially the same thing. And you'll notice here that the temperature is 27.4 degrees in my room. It's a little warm in here. And the humidity is 35. And so that's sort of like the base of where I started. So let's clear this out. Let's see if I can type correctly and clear this out. So if I go back, we can go into the DHT22 temperature logger. And if we do an ls, we can see the config.json file, which is just made for pulling information from the code. And you can see right here that it has names like what's the host, the user, password, database, and those are all sort of variables that are given inside of the, oops, didn't want to do that, inside of the code that's actually in the DHT22logger.py code. So if I go into that, we can see that there is a long line of, there's a lot of code, about 400 lines, and one of those is import.json, and that's where it pulls stuff like what's the Adafruit path that would be found in the config.json file. And so what this code does is exactly what I explained earlier. It reads the sensor, dumps that information into an SQL database, and then sends me warnings based on whether the temperature or humidity are too high or too low, all throughout this code. Now, you can view that by going to, let's go into Microsoft Edge, and we can drag this over here, and we can go to 192.168.1.44, which is the address of the logger. And so it records every 50 minutes. So one of those is what we displayed earlier, 27.433.8, and the other one was 27.138.7. I'd say it has like it's not the most accurate thing in the world all the time, but it generally is with temperature rather than humidity. It kind of depends on where it is in the room and if it's near stuff that's causing humidity or not. So that's that there, and you can see that if I do a cron tab -e, it'll go into here, and you can see that the script runs every 15 minutes in there. And if I were to go to my Gmail, I can see, well, I'm in that email right now. If I were to go to my actual email, you can see that warning from temperature logger. The humidity low is on sensor Fricklin 213. That's where I get my presentation, and I could rename that to whatever I needed. And then the temperature is 27.1 degrees. Humidity limit is 40. It's telling me that that's the parameter I gave it to send me an email if it's lower, which it is, it's at 38.7. And that's sent from the fake email PyTemp data that you can see here. It doesn't really do anything else besides function as the sender for the email. That was pretty much my project. I posted updated code online because I had to edit a lot of the code to get it working properly. That was a very big learning experience for me. I'm not that great with code, but that's sort of what I did for my server project. I hope you enjoyed watching.